Hi, this is Ashishar Bedekar and welcome to my podcast, The ARB Show. I'm thrilled to introduce today's guest, Kingshuk. Kingshuk is the founder of LeadStrategus, a sales and marketing consulting firm. He helps companies set up a digital sales and marketing engine. He has two innovative solutions, both using event-based lead gen. Essentially getting meetings from your ICP using LinkedIn and some interesting services like webinar as a service, where you can gather your target audience, run the webinar, etc. Kingshuk has been a hands-on expert in most of the areas of marketing and sales as a CMO, business development, thought leadership, CRM, inside sales, MR, etc. And he has got deep experience and expertise across these functions in many interesting brands like Amazon, SAP, Gartner, Oracle, IBM, etc. And he is proud of having created some effective and resource-light pipeline generation, outbound telecenters, KPO programs, which have generated very high ROI. Thank you, Kingshuk, for being a guest on the show. I look forward to hearing your insights on top 5 tips for B2B prospecting for the US customers. Over to you, Kingshuk.
Thank you, Ashish, for having me. Absolutely delighted to be speaking with you on your podcast because we've been speaking for some time. I've been following your journey. Absolutely thrilled to be with your audience and share whatever little insights we can on the US sales journey.
Right. And of course, as we know, US is the toughest and the biggest opportunity for any B2B brand. And if you're able to succeed in the US, there's a very good chance you will succeed elsewhere as well. So that's the kind of promised land or destination and an ideal journey for any startup, right? You start at the rest of the world, you go to US, you make it big, and then you kind of expand globally. So I'm really curious to understand in your view what are the kind of some of the tips which our audience can keep in mind when they have to plan their US GTM. So maybe let's kick off. What's the first tip you would like to share with the audience?
Yeah, so as you rightly said, the US GTM is a journey, and talking about our experience at LeadStrategus. In fact, right as we speak, last week we helped a client get 47 meetings from the Adobe Summit at Las Vegas. This week we are helping another client who is also in Las Vegas for the Shop Talk retail event. And last week we helped another client go to Coimbatore for the ETCISO Summit. So we have been helping clients, around 50, 60 clients over the last 4 or 5 years in terms of getting through events, trade shows, and get a huge amount of sales pipeline out of that. It's a journey. It's not a one-day thing, and it's a step-by-step journey. So to make it easy, we're going to talk about 5 steps to make it happen. Before that, a little bit of my background. I cut my teeth in lead gen at SAP, where SAP grew from a small to a mid to a large company in 4 years. And each time SAP would launch, for example, the first year I was there, SAP launched the mid-market product, and which was all-in-one, which is pre-configured SAP ERP for various industries. So SAP, our management put in 9 new partners for the mid-market, and certainly it was the responsibility of the marketing engine, which I was a part of, to generate leads and feed all these hungry 9 little mouths. So crazy amount of running around, crazy amount of pressure, and so on. And the next year, SAP launched Business One, the product for the small enterprises. And then they had 30 partners, and we had to feed all of them. And then in the final year, SAP launched BYD, the cloud product. And fortunately there, the lead numbers were now, the targets were not that crazy, but still. So, 12 years back, 14 years back, we had to convince a very skeptical target group that, look, We will take your data, we will host it on our cloud, we'll manage it securely, we'll make it work for you. So we have traveled a lot since then. And I was also blessed that my role was semi-business development. I had a team of lead qualification managers. In fact, I'm going to have a dinner with them tonight after I talk with you, where we would go to tier 2, tier 3 towns. We do door knocking. We'll use all this intelligence, these insights to set up meetings with some of the sharpest mid-market founders and CEOs. And we used to go to them and make that pitch. Look, you want a Maruti or a Mercedes when it comes to understanding your enterprise, having IT in your enterprise. And that's the pitch we would make. And then we would generate the pipeline, our sales colleagues would close them. And only when you do the public relations announcement about it, would the competition know about it. So it's been a very exciting journey. But to the present, where my firm, LeadStrategus, which I started with my wife, is 7 years old. We just turned 7 years on March 6th. We're around 20 people. For me, it's this ikigai, this passion of combining insights and research and analytics and using that and a little bit of chutzpah, a little bit of thought leadership to generate powerful pipeline. And I've been at it nearly for 20 years plus of my 25 years career. First 4 or 5 years were in market research. The last 20 years were in a mix of lead gen, business development, back to market research again, being a CMO, and then in the last 7 years venturing out on my own. So I'm very privileged and lucky and blessed. And today I run this agency in this area. I'm supported by a lot of wonderful people and absolutely delighted to be sharing some of these learnings with you.
Yeah. So on the same point, you come across many agency owners who would give their tips, or you would kind of share a secret or magic formula for getting leads or getting success into the B2B area, but very few of them have been on the other side of things, right? From worked in big organizations or having driven the organization or that function, right, in organization. So you have that unique perspective that what would a prospective client or what would your clients, right, expect from you. So that's good, because one of the things which many people kind of give that comment, and I'm sure you would agree, is there's a lot of communication gap, or the agency and the client, if they're not in sync, right, things tend to become like a checklist, right? That okay, we hired agency, we tried to do some biz gen, but it didn't work, right? Because we're not aligned. If that's the core thing, and because of your background, in SAP and other companies, I think that is a very valuable, insight. So just a small division. Yeah, over to you. Let's get started.
That's fine. So it's been an interesting journey, and I said I'm very grateful of the opportunities which I got, and the team which we have, which allows me to do that talk and share their experience in making things happen for my fellow marketeers, my sales customers, my CEOs. So coming back to penetrating the US market, which is what we are going to talk about today. So there are 5 broad elements to it. One is something which the word which you used, your go-to-market. That's very critical. So that's the first thing we'll talk about. Then we will talk about your local references in that market. And in fact, when we sign up with clients, we say that there are 2 preconditions. You need to have a go-to-market where you have a unique competitive advantage. Then you need to have local customers in that geography and be willing to travel there. So these are the first 2, which we'll talk about in a moment. And then comes what we call as that crazy amount of analytics around buying intent. And it's a notion, and we'll delve into that. The fourth part is how do you prepare for those meetings? So you've signed up those meetings, but you have to do a crazy amount of research. You have to figure out what to speak, what's their landscape. Remember, you're meeting 30, 40 people who are most important for you. You have other people whom you are running into. There are so many distractions, exciting things, bright, shiny objects which are out there to take your attention away. But you have to focus on that. So that's another element, the preparation which we do. And the last part is the brand new element of the founder or the sales leader who's out there. And there's a crazy amount of preparation. Right. As an agency which has been there, done that, we are there behind you. But you need to be that extroverted, with that energy drink leader who's absolutely commanding the floor those one night or 2 days or 3 days or 5 days that event is happening to make it happen. So that's the journey, and happy to talk about the first part of it, which is your go-to-market. Now today, go-to-market is a much abused as well as much used and much loved word. It means different things to different people, but just to make it easy, we are talking about getting your sales and marketing motions, we are not getting into customer success. We are not talking about what happens after you win the deal. We are talking more about what do you do to land the client, to get that meeting with that client. To make that happen, you need to have some preconditions. See, first, as you know, we are living in a post-DevOps, post-cloud, post-AI world where it's so easy for someone to build a product. So that's why you have those Johnny-come-latelys and you have huge amount of competition in any arcane tech category you can think of. Okay, so there's a huge amount of competition. So when we work with founders, we say that look, our way of lead generation is going to work if you have certain differentiation, you have thought through your feature sets plus your processes have some advantage which another person in the market doesn't have, and that's off the battle one. If your go-to-market is based on your solution having a good product market fit, your chances of success go up significantly, and that's one feather under your belt. So that's one you start off with, the go-to-market of it. You need to have a unique go-to-market differentiator. And this is something I also tell a lot of my sales friends, my marketing friends, when they are joining a company. Look, you need to ask those difficult questions to that CEO. How are you different? Now, you expect me to do these things. I'm more than happy to take that up. But do you have those differentiators? And again, sometimes the market, what it is, we have to take what is out there, right? But you need to ask those questions to yourself, maybe to the person in front of you before you join, so that you don't get into a ship which is, the entire thing is about effort and push and 200% pressure and 20-hour work days to make it work. So that's the fundamental. Your go-to-market has to be unique. It has to be different.
Right. So in fact, I'll take a step back and say that what you're doing is akin to a coach, right? You're a GTM or you're a sales lead, but you can act as a coach. You can't play the game for your clients, right? They have to play the game themselves. That distinction is very important to make, and clients should understand that, right? Because just because they have signed up any agency does not mean they have kind of outsource all their work to you. That's not the intent, right? They're kind of leveraging your expertise to get it done, and it should be in a partnership model. And I liked what you said about GTM, because without a map or without a direction, things can go really, really crazy. And many a times I've also seen that when it's a top down or a kind of a GTM, which is basically a slideware, right? And which is, you say, okay, now this is our GTM, this is what we need to implement. That's a sure shot way for failure, because it's not come with any ground assessment, where the person who is supposed to lead as a general has not even visited the battlefield, right? So many times people say that, before you kind of do a document, always visit the field or actually get your hands dirty, do a couple of, reach out to your customers or prospects, do that, hard work, and then you will get many of the inputs or answers to the queries which any agency would ask you, right? That, okay, what are the things, what works, what doesn't work. So yeah, so that's really fascinating. Yeah, over to you again.
So yeah, again, coming back to the GTM and the point you made, I'll answer this from two angles. One is, we see ourselves as a demand gen agency which is taking the responsibility for the execution. But for this event part of it, we are going back again and again to the client, our sponsor, and we're asking them about this differentiation and this go-to-market. That's one core part of it. So the GTM is something which they have to give. It is given. We take that and make it work. The second part, going to the customers which you have in that geography, is a little bit of a chicken and egg. But the last part, which is the brand new part of it, and increasingly I'm realizing, particularly after last week, these 3 events, that this is where we have to be a coach. We have to tell them that, look, you have to perform on the ground. We are giving you that intelligence, we are giving you the insights, we are giving you the list of the photos of the people you want to meet, where they are likely to be found, but you have to have that courage to talk. And one of the things which I see is some of the biggest CEOs, founder CEOs of large companies, listed companies, who have had a sales background all the time, they somehow lose that spine when they have to look at a Gora or a Gori in the eye and say, hey, I'm this, I want to sell something to you. So there are multiple elements at play, and you said it very well that you have to be a coach. And initially we used to think of the last few years when we were doing this, that look, we will do the heavy lifting. It is our fault. We have to take the entire responsibility. But one thing now we're increasingly telling our clients is, look, your GTM and your brand and how you come across when you're talking to the people in the field, in the trade show, is very, very important. So this is the first part, go to market. The other part is a little bit chicken and egg. So we tell our clients that, look, you need to have local references on the ground. Then it becomes easier for you to crack that deal. Look, I can get to that meeting by that analytics, by that intelligent, the art of the ooh, where I'm saying something interesting or which catches their attention, or the pain points which they're facing. As a research-driven GTM driver, I can do that. But where the rubber hits the road is you need to have some customer references already there on the ground. So the second part of it is very important. There are a lot of startups which have the notion that, look, they can sell everything from here into the US market. They don't need to go. How will I get it? I have a sales team, I have a demand gen team which is going to do that. So here I want to puncture some balloons and say that if you haven't sold yourself on the ground, or you have beg, borrow, steal, get reference customers, to do it at scale in a trade show becomes quite difficult. So the second thing is you need to somehow get these reference customers. We can help you with that. Along with that comes the fact that you need to be willing to travel. We will find out those trade shows where we will understand your solution, we'll understand your target audience, we'll understand your customers, on the basis of which you'll recommend this Gartner Procurement Summit. So we have a list of 1,000 events across the world, which we keep looking at and recommending to our clients. They go to this event, and they need to go. So the second part of it is you need to be physically there on the ground before you sell in US. Just because you have some large customers in India doesn't mean that a lead gen agency is going to be able to do magic. Even if it sets up meeting for you, you have to look at it as an opportunity and as a deal. And then they need local references, and then it fizzles out. So that's one thing you have to think of before you engage. The GTM part of it, having this customer references.
Right. You kind of specialize in looking of event-based, setting up meetings, etc. But what about normal emails, business emails, or LinkedIn messages, or so? So will the same approach apply, or it would be a slightly different?
That's a very, very good question. Events is where it works very well for us with our skills of analytics and messaging and deep research for the US market. But that's not the only game in town. We started off as a LinkedIn first company. I was one of the first 500,000 people on LinkedIn. Anybody I used to connect with, talk with, I used to connect them with on LinkedIn in the next day. So we started as LinkedIn. Then we started doing some emails, some digital. We don't call ourselves the specialists in that. Trade shows is where it has worked very well for us. And then we look at unconventional means. So it can be an iPhone message, it can be a WhatsApp message, it can be an event app, It can be, Germany has a local social media. There are specific, based on your category, based on where your customers gather together, which drinking hole they go into to network, to talk with each other, to have fun, to learn. You need to go there, and you need to be in the medium which they like to talk into. In fact, many times we have another service line which is go-to-market research. Many times I'm up middle of the night talking with our US clients and asking them how does my vendor, how does my client who wants to sell to you, how do they reach out to you? Where do you hang out? What kind of messages do you like seeing which you will absolutely reject offhand? So that's one service line which we have. So these are the first two things which we started with go-to-market. We talked about being on the ground. The third thing comes where it's like the Krishna's Virat Group. Over the last 5 years, buying intent analytics has come through the roof. So there are some very powerful companies which capture buying signals and which tell you that, look, Mr. Vendor, if you want to sell this particular solution, Miss Y, Miss Z are interested in your solution, please go and sell to her. So that's how the sales intelligence stack has come up in the last 5 years. But you know what's happening now, 2024, 2025? The same intelligence is being sold to multiple vendors with the same buying signals. So there is no differentiation. 20 vendors are reaching out to the top 20 companies in America with the same solution. So we felt that we need to now build buying intent analytics one-to-one. So how do we do that? I have a team which keeps looking at all the sales intelligence, premium sales intelligence tools out there. We look at what kind of signals they give us. Then we build our own buying and intent analytics. We'll go through LinkedIn, we'll go through WhatsApp. Most importantly, we will understand the category our client is in, the customers they have, and try to find out, is there a characteristic which is in common between all the buyers, which you can find out by searching on LinkedIn or going through the CEO's media interviews, or looking at they are hiring for this particular profile. They have a lot of people in this department which is much less than industry average or much more than industry average. So we built our own buying intelligence analytics stack for each of our clients, where we ask these very, very tough questions. We are searching for a needle in a haystack, and then we come back and say, look, I think these 100 companies make the maximum sense. Or if it's a huge event like the Adobe Summit, more than 50,000 people coming, we'll say that, look, from your target group, for your buyer persona, for your value prop, these 500 companies make the maximum sense for you to go after, because they have XYZ solutions, they got a new CDO joining 3 months back, and they have expressed publicly they're unhappy with their current vendor. So that's the level of granularity we try to do when it comes to buying intent analytics. I asked all my marketing colleagues and sales colleagues, particularly in organizations where they don't have that intelligent analytics function, to consider doing this either on their own. There are freemium sales intelligence tools, or if it doesn't work, there are of course specialist agencies like that. But a lot of this intelligence is out there. You will do it any day much better than what these software are telling you. Don't become a prisoner of these software, these tools which say that they're giving buying intent analytics, but they can't explain why. So for me, that's the most important thing. Is it explainable analytics? If you're able to do that, then the rubber hits the road.
Got it. In fact, in many of the things, common sense or having the necessary perspective or sales intelligence or having that personal customer connect, that is crucial, right? If you compare to anything else, right? Because if For example, if for example, a simple thing you mentioned, someone moves from one organization to other organization, and if you keep track, right, in your network of the movements, that itself gives you adequate information, right? But I see many people don't use LinkedIn regularly, right? In fact, my mantra specifically is that LinkedIn should be a tab which should always be open. So that's
5 tabs of LinkedIn should be open. You need to have that skills intelligence sales navigator. You need to have your prospects. It's not a bad idea to have a daily target that I'm going to reach out to 5 new prospects on a daily basis on LinkedIn. I'm going to reach out to 5 connects in the past. Maybe 5 is a bit difficult, maybe 2, 3 of them, and call one prospect on a daily basis from my past life. It's not a bad mantra to have as a sales leader.
Right, true. So just to recap, we talked about GTM, we talked about local customer references and need to be on the ground. We talked about the buyer, buying intent analytics, and with the advent of AI and lots of companies out there like Clay, like Apollo, etc. All of them give information, but as you rightly mentioned, that is one part of the story, right? Use your intellect or use your own filter to see whether what it is churning out makes sense or not, right? So because many times a funny story which I'm reminded, because don't automate unless you get the basics right. Someone just I think this was a 2-3 year old story wherein someone created some kind of a software. Whenever there is a change in the job title, right, you send a mail saying that congratulations on your new role, right? But if you don't take, and someone is out of job and saying, looking for a new job, and if you send him an email, congratulations on new role, right? that's automation gone wrong, because you haven't used your most important common sense. Anyway, so that's crucial. So when you talk about buying intent analytics, any specific service or application which you would recommend? Is it Clay? Is it Apollo? Is it any of your favorite ones?
Clay is something which we're very excited about, because it's a Swiss Army knife of those who like to play around with data. It allows you to bring in any data from the partners which they have, plus open source data, and then play around with that. So it's a very, very powerful force multiplier. I think everybody who's doing prospecting should be playing around with it. But you do that after you do the basics of playing around with LinkedIn Sales Navigator and understanding your client, playing around with the chat GPTs in terms of the chat GPTs and the Quents, and seeing what are their buying customer, how are they buying. You need to do that first and then play around with Clay, not the other way around. See, today, what happens is the moment there's a new tool in town, there's a new game in town, everybody is only talking about that. I'm tired of the amount of sales tracks diagrams which I'm seeing on LinkedIn, probably because I'm in this field, which talk about I connected Clay to this, and with Insightly there, and with something else there, and I'm done. But tools is just 1/100th of the story. It is the results which you are able to get, and that results come out of the first principles play which you did with all the stuff and the thinking which you put in. Otherwise, tools, particularly AI tools, are garbage in, garbage out. So when this is a philosophical discussion we have with a lot of my other sales colleagues, where we are discussing that, look, will sales become easier because of all these AI tools? Or is it like you have to, it's like an Alice in Wonderland thing. You have to keep running faster to be in the same space. So if you don't get the GTM right, the differentiation right, that spend that energy in understanding your client, building those reference clients, you will not be able to scale. Forget ability to scale, you'll not be able to survive. So that's a hard lesson which I think we need to be ready for in this AI first world which we are in. Don't depend on it. Play around with it, use it, but your core comes from elsewhere. That is what you have to expand using the power of AI.
Got it. Got it. Excellent. So, what are the final two tips which you would like to share?
The fourth is what we call as process excellence. You need to look at an event with that end goal in mind, which is how do you execute to make things happen. So here, for example, one of the things which we do is we build a dossier on each prospect which has agreed for a meeting, or who's a VIP who is there, where I need to go and have that hallway conversation and speak with her or him for 60 seconds, do my elevator speech, and get a meeting for later. So these process excellence, old-fashioned trade show, working on the floor stuff is becoming more and more important and critical in this tools-driven era. For example, what we do is we prepare a dossier of each of our meeting prospects along with the technology they have. What are their personal pain points, their work-related pain points, what kind of conversations they talk about, have they posted something, and we expect and we request our client who's going to be there that please read this up. Follow that 80-20 rule. You don't have to know everything about those 50 people who's we are trying to set up meetings for you, but you need to be able to have that detailed thing where you're able to say, like, look, I mean, if you're a VVIP, and we have all been to a lot of trade shows, there's a scintillating speaker or there's a VIP whom everybody wants to sell to, but 20 people are waiting. What do you say in that 1 minute, which is based on your understanding of that person's interests and motivations, which gets him or her to open up to you and be willing to have a longer conversation with you. So this is one which we keep talking about, is that process excellence. This is also tied into that fifth part, that brand you element of it, where you have to, we have to work really, really hard on those 3 days or 1 day you are there in the trade show, where you are prepared, you've had a lot of energy drinks, you're willing to look at your prospect in the eye, have that conversation, at the same time know when they don't want to talk to you. And if you go to the US and you are a mid-sized founder, you'll have the same people pitching back to you. So you need to understand that, you need to take care of that. At the same time, you need to be very business-like in terms of, okay, my 15 minutes are gone. Now, let's say you are in a 3-day trade and there are 30 meetings. Now, if you take too much of time on one, and which we Indians typically end up doing, we found something in common and we're talking about Bollywood and God knows what, and that 30 minutes meeting goes into 1 hour, we are going to miss the next person. So that self-discipline, as well as that coach element of it, which you talked about, we started off with saying that we are taking the complete responsibility. We will do it for the client. Now we are coming around to, look, the client is the person on the ground. We have to enable them, coach them, warn them that ye nahi karoge to meeting nahi aayega. And we have suffered. We've set up meetings, we got the email ID, the telephone. The client somehow didn't have the guts to have that conversation, or that kind, they are there to network with their buddies. They are not there to listen to another foreign vendor pitching another AI solution to them. So that context setting plus big picture plus having that conversation becomes very, very important. And again, it's very easy to say, right? We are expecting a little bit of a Superman from you, an extroverted, localite kind of thing for you to be able to have these conversations. It's not easy, it's difficult, but this is the last piece, the X factor, which is very, very important for a trade show success. But again, if you look at it, it's a metaphor for sales. There are 20 other solutions out in the market. How do you stand out? How do you differentiate? It's that zero moment of truth in online, where you come across the prospect for the first time for B2C purchases. It's your zero moment of truth for sales, when you are meeting the prospect for the first time in a sea of other vendors who are trying to sell to them. It's tough, not easy, but we can increase the odds of success for you.
Fantastic. Thanks, Kingshuk. This was a great perspective, and thank you, dear listeners, for tuning in. Do subscribe, share, and like this podcast. Consider giving it a 5-star rating if you like the content. Bye for now. Talk to you soon.